1921 AD, 58:15 AM. Iraq, formerly known as Babylon, was officially recognised as a kingdom seated at Baghdad on August 23rd by the British. This begins a 70-year countdown to the fall of Baghdad to the United States in 1991 in Operation Desert Storm. Adolf Hitler is 33 years old when he becomes the leader of the German Nationalist Party. The total collapse of the Russian economy results in Lenin's new economic policy. Britain, France and the United States pressured Germany to pay war reparations, the victors placing the blame of the war on Germany, while ignoring how Russia instigated the entire affair. Germany cannot pay the international extortion, and 50% duties are placed on German goods. The Allied Reparations Commission places Germany's debt at 132 billion gold marks, an impossible sum to pay. The international Jewish banking dynasties have set the stage for World War II and the rise of the Nazi nationalist government. An ultimatum is given to Germany to pay 1 billion marks by May, or the Allies will occupy the Ruhr. Germany borrows the money from the Bank of London, which is Rothschild-owned and at great interest. Famine in Russia sees the starvation deaths of 18 million people. 20th century events. 1922 AD, 58:16 AM. In India, Gandhi is sentenced to 6 years imprisonment for anti-British activities. Tired of the manipulations of the Jewish industrialist Walter Rathenau, Germans kill him and the Jewish global banking dynasty responds with the hyperinflation of the German mark, which was not at all due to wartime reparations. The Bolsheviks, having totally subdued all Russian opposition, then founded the Jewish-financed Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, or USSR. The proclamation was made on December 30th. Howard Carter and Lord Carnarvon discovered the hidden tomb of King Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings at Luxor, Egypt. This was the first undisturbed Egyptian burial of a famous pharaoh. The crypts were fully intact with funerary relics and buried artefacts. Archaeologists in this year also discovered Mohenjo-Daro, Hill of the Dead, an anciently destroyed city of the Harappan civilization, destroyed in the same year as Sodom and Gomorrah in 1849 BC. This had been an Elamite city. Human skeletons in the open streets have been excavated, holding hands, and they are the most radioactive skeletons ever found. Benito Mussolini sets off a fascist government in Rome, Italy. The Lincoln Memorial is dedicated in Washington, D.C. 1. Viman aircraft. 1923 AD, 58:17 AM. The official beginning of the USSR. The Russian Christian people are now enslaved by a foreign people, mostly atheistic Zionist Jews. 100,000 Russians die every year from the brutal slave labour camps all over the nation, as the secretive regime builds military bases and installations. Globalists intend to use the USSR as an instigator to provoke Western markets into a lucrative arms race that will benefit the international weapons manufacturers, the fossil fuel industry and the world banks. A massive quake crippled the city of Tokyo, Japan, the United States sending aid. The sea retreated and returned as a huge tidal wave added to the destruction. Collapsing rubble, burning, avalanches and drowning killed 38,000, but more died in the Sagami Bay region, with over 43,000 people pulled out to sea. In Germany was a total economic collapse with mass starvation. The nation was raped of its wealth and resources by the British, French and the United States. A national hatred of the Jews developed because A. The origins and carrying out of the communist movement was Jewish, mostly of Eastern Europe. B. The Jews of Eastern Europe and elsewhere aided the Jews of Germany, sending them money, allowing them to buy up all the German industries and businesses, and to afford things that German families could not pay for. In Berlin, Germany alone, there were in 1923 AD 150 Jewish banks and only 11 non-Jewish banks. In the United States, President Calvin Coolidge addressed this problem, declaring, quote, "New arrivals should be limited to our capacity to absorb them into the ranks of good citizenship. America must be kept American," unquote. 1. Cataclysm. 2. The Iron Curtain over America. 3. Jewish supremacism. 1924 AD, 58:18 AM. President Calvin Coolidge calls for a strict immigration policy Immigration Act, in which the national origins principle was strengthened to ensure the British-European ethnic continuity. The US Congressional Record for April 12, 1924, quotes Congressman Knud Wefeld, who in referring to the Jews in America said that they, quote, have no sympathy with our old-time ideals, who detect our weaknesses and pander to them and get wealthy through the disservices they render us. Our whole system of amusements has been taken over by men who came here on the crest of the South and East European immigration. They produce our horrible film stories, and they write many of the books we read, and edit our magazines and newspapers, unquote. Even at this early date, the American government was aware that Hollywood and the national media was predominantly Jewish. Astronomer Edward Hubble disclosed his discovery that our galaxy is merely one of many, that the universe is made up of many galaxies. A 50-mile-long submarine ridge in the South Atlantic, 15 miles wide, arises 2.5 miles undersea overnight, with no apparent consequences. The Ottoman Empire ends with the expulsion of the House of Osman from Turkey. David Davidson was an English engineer who sought to prove Robert Menzies wrong in his theory that the Great Pyramid contained an internal timeline of world history encoded in its measurements. After extensive research on the monument and world history, he released his mammoth book with H. Aldersmith entitled The Great Pyramid, Its Divine Message, his work supporting Menzies' theory. Unfortunately, as with others before and after him, his historical timeline was wrong, having adopted dates of Archbishop James Ussher, which were wrong. Many of his assertions were correct, but the calculations were corrupted. An accurate timeline and demonstration of this amazing pyramid timeline are found in Chronotecture's Lost Science of Prophetic Engineering. 1924 is 1104 years, 552 times 2 from 820 AD. The death of Vladimir Lenin results with a power struggle in the USSR between Joseph Stalin and Leon Trotsky. In India, the British released Gandhi from prison due to health concerns. Native Americans are granted full US citizenship. The Hollywood studio MGM is founded. 1. Jewish supremacism. 2. Invisible residents. 3. 20th century events.